told me to say.
I did not say that. I was kidding.
Yeah, well, you objectively told me to say that. It's extremely silly, but that's all right. Because we can be silly here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of the first episodes of, hey, my friend did a thing, or my friend made a thing. I'm not even... And David is one of the first people who agreed to come on the show, which the idea for the show, I should let you know, was born last year at Gen Con, and now right before Gen Con this year, I finally got enough people to record a couple months of episodes, and I have all of them ready to go. And I'm also going to be recording interviews at Gen Con, so that's super, super exciting.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Shu. I'm excited to talk about stuff.
Awesome. Tell all the people at home how to say your last name.
Oh, that's a secret. No one can know that. Only me and my wife know how to pronounce Schirduan.
What is it?
Schirduan. Schirduan. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
It keeps me unique online. There's no other David Schirduan in the world that I know of. Even in my family, there's no other David. So I'm really easy to Google, which is nice.
Is it? Or is it kind of terrible? Like, are there videos of you just, like, failing to build a tent out there or, like, falling over?
Nope. I've never done anything interesting. That's how it works.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only Shu Skogan.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Pretty great.
So you just got to make sure those videos of you failing to build a tent don't end up on the internet.
No, I just don't attempt to build tents.
See, we're on the same page.
That's my secret. I have plenty of things I fail to do, but they're all like ephemeral and virtual, so they don't end up on video. It's pretty great.
There you go.
Yeah, but we actually do a bunch of cool things, and that's what we're here to talk about today. David and I have known of each other for some time, I believe, but we only actually got to be friends very recently.
Yep, thanks to the Sword Dream tag. I've always been involved in the OSR, and I've enjoyed the community. And when I saw Sword Dream floating around as a kind of like a joke, but also a serious attempt to create more diversity and be more welcoming to marginalized communities, I was really excited by that because I also was aware of the bad stereotype that OSR had, the bad stigma. So I jumped on Sword Dream
right away.
Yeah, I'm ready. That was awesome.
I feel like even if you don't really buy into a stereotype, or it's not your experience, or it's not anything that you've ever seen yourself, just the fact that it exists, you're kind of like, come on, guys, let's put a better image out there, or let's, make people more comfortable. And I think a big part of Dream is trying to do that, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Because the way that people treat others and people who are not like them tells you a lot about that community. So even though I haven't felt oppressed or marginalized or anything, I have seen that happen to others, and that makes me uncomfortable and wary and like a little bit nervous. So.
Yeah, there's some, if you have fully functioning empathy, there are a lot of times when I think it's the kind of thing where I figure where there's resistance is when people have never experienced it, so they just don't want to admit that it happens. But like, once you see it everywhere,
Yep.
So, speaking of the OSR, you're an OSR creator and you make stuff.
Yeah, my first OSR book came out about a month ago. Bone Marshes is a hex crawl about getting lost. And that was.
You still haven't sent me Bone Marshes, have you?
Have I not? Oh,
no. Right. Now I'm calling you out on air, so you have to send it so I can run it.
All right. Yeah, now I'm accountable to the entire internet, so that was a good call.
You definitely are. And I think I'm going to try to run a lot of pickups games at Gen Con, but I don't want to promise you. But after Gen Con, I will definitely run Bone Marshes because I'm so excited for it.
Ooh, thank you. Yeah, I will definitely send you a copy. I'm excited to see more people enjoy it and give me feedback so my next thing can be even better.
There, I want more bogs in gaming. I don't know if you know Dyson, but one of the first maps that Dyson ever drew for me was a bog. And I was like,
nice.
I need a bog. And Dyson's like, here's a bog. And I've been running it at Gen Con, like for Games on Demand and people like that, for years. And it's like the best adventure. And I always slap down my printed out Dyson map on the table, and it's a great feeling.
That's awesome. Well, and Bone Marshes comes from a place in my heart. I grew up on the marshes, and so it's heavily inspired by like running around in the mud as a kid.
In the mud and frogs.
Yeah, frogs, lizards, snakes.
Definitely. So where were these wetlands?
Folly Beach in South Carolina.
In South Carolina. A lot of the South is kind of marshy, isn't it? Like I know Louisiana and Florida are just huge chunks of them are just swamps.
Yep. And the area that I grew up in, it's been interesting because it was started to become a more touristy area as I grew up. So it went from sort of a cheap rundown area to something that, I mean, we've got a Holiday Inn and we've got a ton of, a Subway on it. That's, I know, right?
Oh, that's fancy. We live in the big life now.
Yep. So
I know I have a Monster of the Week game that's set on the bayou, and I'm super excited about it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, one of the things that makes me most excited for the Bone Marshes is because I feel like bogs and wetlands and swamps have this like this spiritual aspect, this character that no other biome really has. There's almost like this like when you hear people talk about the Appalachians, or when you hear people talk about like the wilds of Vietnam, they always talk about how there's this like spirit to it, like it has a personality. And I always think when I'm in places that are very boggy, there's the same kind of feeling. Like there's this almost like holy but creepy at the same time kind of feeling, just like with all of the life and the rot and the just all the things that can happen when you have warmth and water together.
Agreed. I think the marshes have a particularly unique blend of like dead, rotting things, while also there is so much life crammed into tiny spaces.
And a lot of people don't realize the biological diversity that marshes and bogs have. I mean, it's intense. I know there are wetlands on the East Coast that have like 20 different species of frogs living within 1 mile, and it's just insane.
Yep. And the thing that I remembered as a kid is that the marshes where we are have lots of little canals. So I would take the kayaks and go for hours and hours exploring like little nooks and crannies and finding strange things and boats that had been abandoned and stuck in the marsh. And it was really cool.
Did you find any undead? I feel like this is important to ask you. Like, was the Bone Marshes also inspired by your childhood experiences with necromancy?
No, necromancy didn't come until college.
It so often happens that way.
Yeah. Like 2 a.m. zombies in the library. Yeah. Yep.
Raise a few bodies. Okay. That's fairly typical of a curious youth. Okay. So your experience with the undead came later.
Correct. But the marshes were heavily inspired by tromping around as a kid. And I tried to make them as gross and exciting as they were when I was a kid. So the adventure should provide plenty of mud and plenty of humidity.
Oh God. Humidity. That's why I'm afraid to go outside right now.
Yeah.
It's like, even when it's only 90 something, you'll just sweat.
Yep.
Instantly. It's the worst. Why don't you tell us some cool little thing that we're going to see, context or not? It can be completely without context. Tell us something that comes up in the Bone Marshes that's like a cool little exciting thing.
So this is a little bit of a spoiler, but it seems to be a good selling point. There is an alien spacecraft hidden somewhere in the Bone Marshes that you can pilot.
I feel like you just gave up the biggest thing.
That's not the biggest thing.
Are we like, okay. I don't want to be like those movie trailers that are like, we'll just put the biggest gags in the movie right, and we'll put the funniest jokes right in the trailer. It's like,
No, there's plenty more to see and explore, I promise you.
but how many kinds of frogs are there?
I guess that depends on the dungeon master.
I see. Are you giving that to the dungeon master? You're just like, you guys can just make up all the frogs yourself.
Well, it was fun because Bone Marshes is written in a very minimal style, so it's supposed to give the GM a jumping off point, rather than hand holding them through the whole way. It's not very linear. It's very much like a big sandbox, and stuff is described quite minimally so that you can run it without much prep.
Would you say that that's one of the things you like about OSR design?
Oh God, yes. I hate having to like read through a book with a highlighter and be like, there is a chair and 2 tables in this book, but I have to read a paragraph of information to figure that out. It's a nonsense.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I do feel like there are a couple books out there where the writing is the treat, like a lot of Patrick's books. I don't know if you know Patrick. It's Patrick Stewart I'm talking about, but a lot of his books, like the language is part of the appeal. But yeah, I do think it's nice to have just like a really tiny little thing that says everything it needs to, and hardly.
Have you seen Patrick's newest book?
I want it so bad.
So I don't know if you haven't read it yet.
Do you have it? I'm coming to your house and I'm stealing it.
Yeah, but he abandons his purple prose. Most of the book, I don't know if you can tell, but it's little bullets, no paragraphs.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a completely new style for him, which is one of the reasons I love it, because it's not paragraphs.
All the people. Look it up. This is a beautiful book.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. The lighting in here does not do it justice.
I want it so bad. Which viewers at home, you know I have a birthday coming up. But
the Dirk's artwork is just absolutely gorgeous.
I know. Sadly, I don't think the webcam is doing it justice, but
oh gosh, yeah.
I will have the 2 of them on the show one of these days. So.
Oh, good. That'd be awesome.
So speaking of short, little, minimal creations, you have something else you're passionate about that is very minimalist, don't you?
That's right. I'm one of the organizers of the annual 200-word RPG challenge.
Yes, it's so good. I was telling David before that I'm part of a similar kind of like just do the thing, get it out there kind of challenge called FALM, February Album Writing Contest February Album Writing Month, and it's where you write and record 14 songs in a single month of February. Damn. Unfortunately, this year, life got a bit crazy. Some big things happened in the scene, and I had a lot to write songs about, but no time to write songs. So
that's the worst.
Yeah, maybe next year I'll revisit this February and write about all the crazy things that I saw and felt in that month. But yeah, I had I had an entire scene to run because I'm in charge of the OSR now. You're
the captain.
I am the crown captain of the OSR. Deposed our old king, and now we have. And that's me.
Well, and I'm hoping this year I can inject a little more OSR into the 200-word challenge.
That would be amazing.
It is majority story games, and I would love to see some more OSR content in it.
Well, if that's your specific request, then I think I should make an OSR type thingy. I would love it. Yeah, I do microfiction. Like most of my fiction writing that I do for fun is microfiction. So like 200 words is like just perfect for me.
Oh yeah. Have you read some of the games that have been submitted?
I have not. I just learned this existed from you recently.
Some of these are so brilliant.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
What are some of your favorites?
Oh, so actually here, let me pull it up and I'll share my screen while I talk.
Okay.
I have also started a Patreon this year to try and raise money for the challenge.
Okay.
Every year it costs about $250 to hire people to lay out the final collections of entries and keep the site running and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I'm happy to pay that out of my own pocket, but if I could run a Patreon, we could raise that money and more to sponsor some book collections or all sorts of cool
Yeah,
stuff.
so this is a really great thing for people. Do you think it could be do you think it's kind of an onboarding thing for some people, or do you think you pretty much have to know how to do RPGs to get anything out of it?
Well, the goal is onboarding. We want everyone to make an RPG. We want new people to make
Okay,
RPGs.
so maybe it's not a good introduction to role playing, but it is a good introduction to the idea of design and like
Mhm.
just making a game.
Correct.
I love
And
that.
that is why we chose the format that we did, is so
Mm.
that people can write a 200-word RPG in about a couple days, and then refine it over the course of a week, and then submit it.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
can you see my screen?
I will click on you so that, yes, now all the viewers can see your screen. Okay.
Excellent. So let me make this nice and big. All
This
right.
is gorgeous.
So the goal of my Patreon is I take the 200-word entries that are all plain text, and I explode them with new layout, artwork, and additional content. So this is 400 words, not 200, and it has a bunch of extra content written by the writer Sean Smith.
Okay.
This is the first one of the Patreon. We've got another one coming out at the end of the month, but I am excited to explore these games a little more and expand them beyond their 200-word roots.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
think they have so much potential.
This is fantastic. A friend of mine wrote a game called The Coin's Hard Edge that was a D2 coin flipping game, only his was a noir game. And it was
Ooh.
very much, yeah, it was like noir, like if you try and fail, that's it. Like you broke the lock, they'll never speak to you again, whatever. Which fit noir really well. It was really good game. This is cool. It's really nice to see more coin flipping games these days. Most of the coin flipping I do is when I play the Pokemon card game. So definitely cool. Thank you for showing us this.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm. This Patreon will hopefully raise some money for the challenge. It let me improve my design work, but more importantly, it lets me enjoy and dive into all these cool entries that I am excited to expand upon.
Ah, so exciting, and a great way to get people into designing, even if they didn't think they could ever make a game. You know, it's super low pressure, right? Like just make a little thing and do it. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's an interesting combination of being very difficult because you have a tight word limit,
It is
but
true.
also very low barrier to entry,
Yes.
which is nice.
I think that's really, really valuable. I mean, I wrote a game that fits on an index card, actually more than one, several. So I definitely I like that idea, and I do like having the specific purpose of getting people to understand that it's something that they can do. And maybe they don't have to set aside, you know, months of time and lots of money to make a game. They can just do it, which is really cool.
Yeah, last year we had, let's see, we had over 200 people who had never made a game before, but participated in the challenge,
That's
which is
fantastic.
awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was a huge affirmation to the team that we were able to encourage 200 new designers to try their hand at something. So I'm hoping this year will be the same.
It's always, of course, when you make something, you can't really even expect that people are going to use it the way you imagine they would. But it's always very gratifying when they do, isn't it?
Yep.
That's fantastic. Okay. So you said you hope that you see more OSR stuff. Do you think there are new avenues to be explored? I've been experimenting for years, like smushing together story gaming stuff and OSR stuff, and kind of just. Do you think that this challenge is a good way to explore kind of like blurring these arbitrary lines in like different design styles?
I definitely think so. I think the tight word limit forces you to rely on both of the OSR principles of the idea that, most of the rules and judgments and decisions are made by the GM. So if there isn't a rule about poison, then the GM has to make one up. That is a very OSR mentality. And then the story game mentality of the players guiding the story, that also connects to the low word count, because then you're not giving rules to the players and the GM, you're setting up a structure for everyone to participate. And I think that is like a cool in between both of the genres.
Like everybody helps out.
Mm-hmm.
The story happens. That's fantastic.
Yep.
Well, we've been talking for a while now, and I think we should close up. Is there anything else you wanted to share about? Anybody you wanted to call out to, or things you want people to take a look at?
I think you should definitely check out the Sword Dream hashtag on Twitter and try to get involved in the movement, because I think it's really healthy for the community. And in October, join the 200-word challenge and try your hand at it.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it. Now I'm accountable to the whole internet.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. So, thank you for watching, and thank you, David, for coming to talk with me today.
Thanks, Shu. It was an honor to be here and to be featured on your show.
Well, the show wouldn't exist without people to feature, so. Anyway, bye, everyone.
Have a good night.